Jeannie's Designs, and I'm getting ready to do a pattern that you don't see very often. I've made a couple, and I'll show them to you, but it's the Lanos Handmade Zsa Zsa Clutch Wallet. Very cute. It's got 7 slip pockets, 12 card slot pockets, 2 zipper pockets, an adjustable strap. Very cute. So here's one I've made. And this has vinyl for the outside, and everything else on the inside is either cotton or cotton canvas. I'm using cork and all cotton today. So you can see the 2 zipper pockets, huge. You've got 6 credit card slots on this side, 6 credit card slots on this side, and then 7 slip pockets. This middle one is huge. I mean, there's just tons of pockets. And you can fill it up however you like. You know, I left the flap so that you could actually fill it up pretty big. So this is vinyl, so it's a little heavier than the cork that I'm going to use today, but that's okay. So this is the cork for the D-rings. It's a paisley aqua cork. Gorgeous. This is too big of a piece, but it's what I had. So that's, and I'm going to use, for the D-rings, I'm using 3/4 inch. Couldn't spit that out, could I? 3/4 inch hardware. So these are the 2 flats. One is the paisley, no interfacing, and one is a navy cork, no interfacing. So I have 2 of those. The main body of the fabric is going to also be in the navy cork, no interfacing. So 2 of those. So pretty. This is just a template for the zipper, the 2 zippers, so we'll use that. There's no pieces to that. This is piece G, card slot pocket lining, and there are no interfacing to these 2. We will add interfacing, but it'll after we connect it to the card slots. And then there is a huge piece of Peltex that we probably will have to cut down, but that's what that is. I'm gonna actually put that over there. These are the 2 lining pieces or interfacing for the card slots once I get them sewn together. This is 2 pad piece H, and these are the zipper pocket linings. This is a batik, and I did put the interfacing woven fuse outside of the seam allowances for those. And then there are 6 piece E, and this is kind of a teal grunge, but I also put woven fuse outside of the seam allowances. And then this is the inner lining back and front. 2 of those, also with woven fuse. And then there are 2 piece F card slots. That's also out of the batik, and it also has woven fuse. I did leave the interfacing inside the seam allowances for these. I just think card slots need a little extra. So that's what that is. You need 2 zippers, and I'm using this rainbow blue zipper tape. Very pretty. So 2 of those. And then my hardware is 2 3/4 inch square rings. I don't have D rings, so two of those. 2 number 5 zipper pulls. And then a slide adjuster, and I am using 1 inch webbing. So my slide adjuster is a 1 inch, if I can get it out, 1 inch slide adjuster, and then my swivel clasps are 1 inch as well. So that's all of that. So keep in mind when you're making this, it does get bulky on the inside on the side seams. So whatever fabrics you're using, make sure that you keep everything out of the seam allowances that you can. You have very generous seam allowances. Oh, the other thing I'll need is a magnetic snap, and I may need some rivets. I'm going to hold off on that until I get there, but you may need rivets as well. All right, so let's get started. Thanks for watching. Be sure to click subscribe, like, and comment. I appreciate it. See you in a bit. All right, so a couple of things I'm going to do first, and I'm going to do it on fast forward because none of this is really new. My handle connector, it's a 7-inch long piece, which I'm going to divide in two once I get it sewn. So each connector will be 3.5 inches. This is a 1.5-inch piece. I divided it down the middle, and I put a piece of double-sided tape. I'm using square rings because I don't have any 3/4 inch D rings. So I will do that and get those done. And then you need your piece H zipper pockets. So there are 2 of those, and I have marked where my zipper is going, and she gives you the template for that. So all you do is put it there and just mark it for 2 of those. And then when we have those marked, we're going to grab 2 piece E's, and we're going to put those right sides together, and she gives you the measurement for what it should be all the way around. So pay attention to that. And then we're going to sew this box, cut it open just like any other zipper, and put, this is the lining, so we'll push that through and press that. Then we will add our zippers to that open box. I added my zipper pulls, and I also added a piece of double-sided tape on each of those sides. So those are ready to go. So that's what we're going to do, and once I get it done, I'll come back and make sure that everything is clear, and then we'll proceed to the next step. All right, so we have our zipper pockets in place, and all I did was pull those threads to the back. I do go over the zipper teeth, I backspace, so it ends up being gone over 3 times. It's just a preference. And now I am going to cut off my excess zipper on both sides, on both pieces. I'm going to cut this off a little more. The next step is going to be to close our zipper pockets. So you want to be able to get a good seam there. So you only need to leave about 1/4 of an inch on each side. I am going to burn the ends of those where I cut them off. In this instance, it's really just more habit, but it's a good practice, good habit to get into. Burning the ends of your zipper so they don't fray. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to sew the ends of our zippers, these two ends, together at the seam allowance in the pattern. Actually, no, Barb, I have to close my zipper pockets first. Sorry. So let's close our zipper pockets first. And then we will sew those ends together. I'm dropping clips like they were candy. Okay, so that's one. So I'm taking my zipper pocket and I'm going to sew it on all 3 sides. So we're closing off our zipper pocket. We don't need it open for any reason. And it really, I'll just, as you go along, you'll see how important it is to leave the interfacing out of the seam allowance. Okay, so just get your front piece out of the way, and we're going to sew our zipper pocket closed all the way around. Just make sure your front panel is out of the way. Okay. All right, so repeat that on the other one, and then we are going to sew this end to the other one and this end to the other one. Don't do anything with the sides. So I'm going to do that on fast forward. All right, she doesn't call for the pinking shears, but because my cotton is very frayable, I decided to do it. So now we got both ends. So that's what you have. On the inside, you have your 2 zipper pockets. And we closed both of our zipper pockets. So this is what you have. It looks like a hot mess. So what you want to do is you want those 2 ends that you just, and the seams that we just created, we want to pull those together and clip those, because now we are going to sew down the sides. I will do the exact same thing with my pinking shears, just because I don't like fraying fabrics. I just, and it does help. It doesn't, does it prevent it from fraying at all? No. So again, we're just going to match these seams. And then we are going to need to leave a turning hole. So on one side, it doesn't matter which side, leave about a 5-inch turning hole, whatever you need. It doesn't matter. Just keep in mind that whatever you leave, you're going to have to top stitch it closed. And so I like to mark mine. And then I do my 90-degree. That's probably about a 6 or 7-inch turning hole. But this side over here, we're just going to close all the way at the seam allowance in the pattern. All right, so we closed that off, and I did go and press it. I probably need to do a little bit of pressing. But we're going to sew a seam down this where the seams are. We're going to just top stitch that all the way down. And now we're going to get ready and do our card slots. This piece is done. Okay, so there's our 2 zipper pockets. Beautiful. All right, now our card slots. So you need piece F, which is your 2 card slot pieces. And I already did one. So that's what you'll end up with. This is the top. You have 2 card slots here and here. We're going to top stitch each of these pieces here, And then we'll divide this into 3 card slots. So you end up with a slip pocket, excuse me, my nose, and 6 card slots. Okay, so this one is done. Let me show you how we did it. So in the pattern, she gives very good directions on how to mark this on the back. So we're measuring up here, and that's going to be wrong sides together. This one is right sides together. Oh, from the bottom, sorry. From the bottom, measure, you do it from the bottom, which is unlike some patterns. So at the bottom, this is wrong sides together. This will be right sides together. This will be wrong sides together. And this will be right sides together. So wrong sides together, just like this. You have to kind of look in there. The thing is, you just want to make sure you keep your sides nice and even. Okay, so that's my wrong sides together. And now we want to go, on the next line, we want to go right sides together all the way across. And I just clip them as I go, so they stay. The next line is wrong sides together. And you kind of have to look in there to make sure you're getting it. And then I just look at it, and so that looks really good. My sides are even. And then the next line is right sides together. I mean, really, these are pretty easy to do. And some of the ones I've made, I use waterproof canvas. You can, but there's really no need, honestly. So that's what you should have. So I have 2 of these. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew top stitch each one here, here, and here. And then in the pattern, she gives you pretty explicit directions on how to measure. So you measure a side seam, and then you have 2 lines down the middle, and then we'll top stitch those. Okay, so I'll do that on fast forward. All right, so I finished my 2 card slots. So pay attention to the numbers she has in the pattern, and then always, always, always check your card slots to make sure before you go any further that your cards fit and they fit in there appropriately. They don't go down too far, or they don't stay up too far. Perfect. Okay. So now grab your 2-piece G cardstock pocket linings. And we are going to put one of these right sides together. And we are just going to sew along, what does she tell you to do? Let's see. It makes sense for me to sew along the bottom. Okay. Because we have to add our interfacing. So I'm going to sew along the top. Did I pin? No, I clipped that on the bottom. Just along the top. And then we are going to add our interfacing. Okay, be right back, and I'll do that on fast forward. All right, so we have our 2 card slots with the interfacing on the back. So now we are going to fold these together. Leave a turning hole in the bottom at the seam allowance in the pattern. So do that for both of them. And like always, I'm going to mark my turning hole, probably about a 4-inch turning hole. Okay, and so we're going to sew down the side and just to our turning holes on both pieces. Then we will turn them right side out, press them, and close off this hole. All right, so I have both my credit card slots. This one has a little lip on it. Don't ask me why. It's fine. We're gonna sew along the top and on each one, and then we are gonna place them on 2 of our piece E's, which leaves 2 left. Okay. So I'll do one, and then I'll do the other on fast forward. So I'm going to sew along the top. And then we are gonna add this and sew on 3 sides of one of our piece E's. Right side up. And we're gonna measure down what it calls for in the pattern. And then she also tells you how much you should have on each side. So, there you go. Okay. And now we're gonna sew, and I'm just holding it. You could put a piece of washi tape on there, but I'm just gonna hold it. When I'm backspacing, listen to me, backstitching, good great girl, over the card slots, because they'll be, you know, accessed frequently. And then just across the bottom, which it so closes up our turning hole as well. One more stitch. And then you're gonna grab one of your remaining piece E's. You're gonna repeat that for the other one. Then grab one of your remaining piece E's and we're gonna put those right sides together. And we're gonna clip that all the way around. Leaving a turning hole in the bottom. So mark your turning hole. You know, again, I'll probably leave a 5 or 6 inch turning hole. It may not need to be that big, but my credit cards, for some reason, my slots are a little chunky. Okay. So let me just verify that seam allowance. All the way around. Hold on a second. Yeah. And leave the turning hole in the bottom. So I'm going to mark my turning hole in the bottom. And then I'll press that. So sew all the way around and then turn it and then press it. I'm going to do that on fast forward. All right, so now we're just gonna sew all the way around at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, top stitching it. That'll end up closing our bottom turning holes on both pieces. So I'll do that on fast forward. All right, so both our credit card pockets are done. Our linings, those two are done. And now we are going to sew the inner flap to piece C. So the flap is piece A, inner, and then this piece is piece C. So I'm going to sew that together at the seam allowance in the pattern. And then I will top stitch it. My sewing machine was making a weird noise. I had to do a little investigation. It ended up being nothing, but it's not doing it anymore, so I'm happy with that. All right, so now we are going to sew, top stitch that seam open, or not open, going towards the top. Eighth of an inch. All right, so now we are ready to assemble our inside. It's a beautiful thing. All right. So first of all, what you want to do is grab one of your credit card pockets, and keep in mind when it's like this, you want your credit card pockets to be going up. So this one will go this way. And I'm gonna go over, you have to follow the directions in the pattern as far as the measurement, but that one will go there. This one will go the opposite. So that one with the credit card slots there, they look like they're going down, but when the bag is done, it'll be up. Then our zipper pockets are gonna go right here, okay? So the first thing you want to do is put this one on. I got a thread hanging here. There we go. And we want to make sure that it is up from the bottom and even on the sides according to the pattern. So just make sure that it's even on the sides all the way up. So if your bottom isn't even, that's okay. If it's not completely straight, it's really more important that it's even all the way up. And then I'm gonna clip that together. And we're going to sew, where's mine? I'm gonna get this, use this. So we're gonna sew all the way And I'm going to find the center of this piece here in a second, because then we're going to make that mark that goes across. Okay, so let's see what this piece is. I'm going to get this one out of the way for the moment. Okay. Okay, so that's where we're going to sew. All the way here, here, all the way to there and around. Okay. I know it feels weird. So just hold that in place. Again, make sure it's all nice and even. And then we're gonna sew that in place. And this is creating like one of your slip pockets. So just make sure you're back stitching there at the top. And then we're gonna come across. And back down. Okay. And then we are going to repeat that exact same thing, just on the opposite end with our other card slot. All right. So now what you end up having, there's our card slot. This is sewn down, and here's a slip pocket. It's an absolute beautiful thing. The only thing different is the slots are on this end. Okay. All right, so this measurement here from your interior front flap is different than it is down there, so just keep that in mind. And then also just make sure it's even all the way up. And then again, find your measurement. Here and here, and then find the middle of that piece. Okay, so and do the same thing on the other side. I'm trying not to move it too much. Yeah. Now, if you're off just a hair on some of this, it's probably okay. Probably the bigger thing is to make sure you're doing this side absolutely correctly, because as far as how far in it is, because we're going to be sewing those together eventually. Okay. Now, sew along those lines, making sure that you kept everything pretty straight. Again, back stitch at the top. Now you have created 2 slip pockets, and you have your credit card pockets attached. So there you go. There's a slip pocket, and here's a slip pocket. And then you have, eventually you're going to have your credit card slots. All right, I'm going to get ready for the next step. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, and you can do it at the bottom or the top, it doesn't really matter. I probably should have ironed this a little better, but that's okay. We're going to do one side at a time. And what I'm doing is I have clipped my credit card, this loose part only, remember this was sewed down, to my zipper pocket. And you know, the easiest way to do this, honestly, you can do the 1-inch thing all the way around, but the easiest way to do it is get everything else out of the way and sew from the top down and around your credit card slots. You can go a little further if you want to, that would be fine. But you've already created the marking that she has in the pattern. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll repeat that on the other side. Make sure everything else is out of your way. Backstitch quite a bit at the top because you're creating a slip pocket. Get as close to those credit card slots as you can. And then I'm just going on the bottom of my slots, all the way across. And then I'll come back up as close to the credit card slots as I can get. You can take the time to measure it and everything, but that's basically what you're going to come up with. I don't know if she tells you this in the pattern or not. Okay, so that's done. So here, let me show you what we have. So here's our top inner flap. Here's our slip pocket, and then we just sewed these 2 pieces together. Now we're going to do the exact same thing here on the bottom. She doesn't have you really do it at the same time. Primarily, number one, you're not sewing all the way around. But there is a little give here in the middle. And so you don't want to disrupt that. That's my thought, why she doesn't want you to do it. Okay, so I'm going to do the exact same thing. Close as I can get. And then come down, make sure everything's out of the way. I don't want to go over my card slots again, but I'm just sewing right next to them. Okay. All right, so that's what you should have. This is now sewn together, and you've got a nice slip pocket and a zipper pocket. You've got a slip pocket. This will become a slip pocket. Here's a zipper pocket and a slip pocket and another slip pocket. It's just an amazing thing. I am going to put my tag up here on the inner flap, so I'm going to do that offline. All right, so the next step is to clip these two back pieces together on all four sides. So we do not want to sew our, and you can clip them out of the way if you choose to. We do not want to sew our zipper pockets in this. We are just sewing, top stitching 1/8 of an inch on each side. And if it helps you, you can fold this back piece C out of the way, and then fold this zipper pocket out of the way. We're just sewing these at 1/8 of an inch, and you have a previous stitch there, so it probably doesn't hurt to just try and follow that stitch. So I've got them all four clipped. Okay, so again, your C piece, your back lining is out of the way, and your zipper pocket flaps are out of the way. You're gonna sew down here and stop. You're gonna sew here and stop. Same thing on this side. All right, so I'm gonna fast forward that. All right, so for now when this is flat, you're gonna have some bunching up here. That's okay, because when it's folded, it's not gonna have any bunching, and when we get it together. So that's what you have right now. These are sewn down to piece C except for the zipper pocket. All right, let's set that aside for a minute. I did put my label here. So keep in mind, this is the inner flap. So when I open my flap, I want it to be right side up. So keep that in mind if that's where you decide to put your label, if you have one. All right, so now grab your piece, let's see, piece B, the outer back and front, and then the outer flap. We're gonna sew all three of those together at the seam. She talks about gluing things. I use glue only when absolutely necessary. It, for me, just creates a major mess. I probably, as a child, got glue all over myself in school. All right, so let's sew that together at the seam allowance in the pattern. Let me just verify what it is. Yeah. And then we will top stitch that seam open. This is going be so pretty. The aqua and the navy together. Okay, so sew along there on both sides with the seam open. So flatten your seam, and then we are gonna sew the flap on, the outer flap, and do the exact same thing to the seam. We want those seams sewed open with those 2 rows of top stitching. All right, so I'm going to sew that together at a 1/2 inch. Oh, I told you the seam allowance. That's all right. All right, if you have the magnetic snap with the prongs, you're going to want to place that on this bottom piece now and reinforce it with some Decaville Heavy or whatever you choose. And also place it on your interior flap here, according to the measurement and placement in the pattern. I'm going to put on rivet magnetic snaps, so I'm not putting them on until after I get my Peltex in there. So the next thing is on this outer back piece, we're going to add our D-rings. In my situation, they're square rings. And I want the square or the D-ring going inside. So, and I'm putting them down about 1/4 inch. I honestly don't even know what she tells you to do. And I'm leaving, mine were 3.5. I'm leaving about 1/2 inch off. I'll show you here in a second. So just like that, about 1/4 inch down, the ring going inside, and then I'm leaving about a 1/2 inch off on the seam allowance. So I'm just going to baste those in place. We're getting so close to being done. And I wouldn't cut that off yet. I would leave it for now. I don't know if you noticed, I didn't check my bobbin before I top stitch and I ran out of bobbin. Very annoying. This is my bobbin is Tex 70 and my top thread is Tex 45. So the bobbins with Tex 70 don't last nearly as long. That's why. I didn't check it. I thought I had plenty because I put a brand new bobbin in there. All right. So again, put your magnetic snaps on now. If you have the prong type magnetic snaps, reinforce them. She tells you where to put it. Okay. So now we are going to attach this piece to our lining piece that has all the pockets. Okay. we are going to leave that bottom open. And I am going to round my corners, but I'm going to do it as I sew. I'll show you. I am just going to use my mug to mark my corners. It's very sophisticated. And they're not huge corners. You could mark them individually if you choose to. I normally do, actually. But I'm trying to save a little video time here. And then we are going to clip this. And you want to match your center, not your centers, your seams here. Make sure your D-ring is out of the way, or your square ring, whatever you're using. And we are going to sew this together in 2 steps. I'll tell you, it's much easier if you do it that way. You can choose to do anything you want, but she talks about this in the pattern, and it is very helpful. It really, really does make a difference, I think. So I don't use as many clips up here on the flap as I'll start using down here. So just keep your D-ring out of the way. The other thing she does talk about is moving your inner pieces out of the way. You know, she talks about taping them. I haven't found anything that really helps, so I am just very careful and sew these sides very slow. You're not going to catch it in the seam. It's going to pull though, so we're going to, as we go, we're going to have to hold it up so it doesn't pull like it wants to. All right, so that's as far as I'm going to go. I'm going to start here, go all the way around and stop here, and then we will finish this bottom part. For some reason my bottom part seems to be long, but we'll figure that out here in a minute. So I'm going to do it from this side. Make sure your D or your square rings are out of the way, and this is a very generous seam allowance, so keep that in mind. And I'm going to use my stiletto, I think. So if you hold it up like this, it really makes a difference. Okay, I'm going to continue on fast forward. All right, so this went pretty well. Keep in mind, this is meant to have this pooch in here. So even though I'm gonna clip my bottom, we're not sewing this bottom at all. We're leaving that open. And I'm also gonna stop and start sewing, let's use this, a 1/2 inch from each end. Because that's gonna be our end seam allowance. Okay, so I don't want to sew that so that when I go to finish this edge, I can turn it in easily. All right, so let's do it. All right, so we are ready. I'm ready to put in my Peltex. I did clip it all the way around, and I'll have to take that off and to put my Peltex in. But I did that just to give it some structure while I was getting myself a cup of coffee and cutting out my Peltex. So I cut off, and I typically have to do this. So I think next time I do it, I'll take 1/4 off the measurement. But I cut off at least probably between 1/4 and 3/8 off the side, the long side. And then on this side, I cut off about close to 3/4. And then I also rounded these edges since I rounded those. So now I am going to unclip this. And this really, and don't leave these clips on. It's not as big of a deal with cork as it would be vinyl. But if you leave these clips on, I just dropped one. I don't know where it went. On vinyl for very long, they do mark it and leave marks. I don't do it as much on cork, but I still wouldn't recommend leaving them on cork for any extended period of time. Okay. Now, the other thing she talks about, and I'm going to put my magnetic snap in when I'm done with this, so that I have the Peltex to put it into. So I fold it in thirds, and then I slide it in there all the way up. And then I will just work it in there. The one thing you do want to try and do, if you can, is to keep the Peltex. I'm gonna have to take my watch off and my ring to do this. Is keep your Peltex on the same side of the seam allowance. So if it's on top all the way down, or if it's underneath, either way, just keep it on the same side. It does make a difference. So mine is underneath. So you just want, see there, you want to have plenty of room to make your turn without that Peltex getting in the way. And then she does not top stitch it. I think I'm going to. I have all my other ones and I haven't had a problem. Now, I think part of it for her is she doesn't have an industrial machine. There's no way I would try and top stitch this on a domestic machine. It's just too big. Yeah. And the thickest parts are right here. Here and here and down there. And roll your seams out as good as you can. Now, again, you do not have to top stitch it. So if you're not going to top stitch, then you can fold your seam down here in, and I'll go ahead and do that. And just top stitch this seam closed. Try and get this as straight as possible. It can be a challenge, really. Because this is going to be visible as you open the bag and look at all the pockets. So there you go. And if you're not going to top stitch the whole bag, just top stitch that right there, and that will close it. And then we have some other stuff to do as well. But I'm going to top stitch mine, so I'll do that either off camera or fast forward. So that really wasn't too bad, but I don't like this corner. So I'm going to pick that and redo it. The top stitching on these materials with an industrial is not hard at all. So I'm going to do this off camera. I'll show you how it looks when I'm done. All right, so the last step, I did put my magnetic snap in, and it looks beautiful. And I did fix this corner as good as it's going to get. Now the last step is to sew together your two zipper pocket flanges here. And I'll tell you, this is the most challenging part of the whole bag. Just do your best and sew down as far as you can go. You gotta just squish everything out of the way. This is the hardest part. You can do it. Just go really slow. Leave your needle down in there if you have to maneuver things out of the way. And you just need an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm gonna try and bend this back if I can. Yeah. On both sides. Ooh, don't come up. Don't come up. Sometime I may. We'll see. I'm gonna go as far as I can. It doesn't have to be pretty, that's for sure. And then, yeah, I didn't get very far. I should say, I got about 3/4 of the way down. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hand stitch the rest of this. All right, let's see how far I can get here. It might help to do this. I didn't do that with the other side. Let's see if that helps me at all. You can hand stitch the whole thing. I put rivets in the other one. The problem with the rivets that I put in is that leaves a hole in the bottom. Let me see. It's a struggle, I'll be honest. Just do the best you can. Okay, I made it about the same distance, interestingly. Okay. Ooh. So that's what you have. And I am gonna hand stitch that. I am gonna use some of my text 70 thread because I want that to be really strong. And I'm gonna do a blind slip stitch. So I'll do that off camera and I'll come back and show you how I did. All right, I did that and I'll show it to you here in a second. I'm just gonna do my strap. Okay, there you go. Oh, I just love the navy with this cork. So there's the back, beautiful. And then here's our inside with all our pockets, 7 slip pockets, 2 zipper pockets, 6 card slot pockets. some there and some here. And then let me show you the side, what I did. I sewed down as far as I could. And then I just did, let me see if I can get the light for you. I did a slip stitch. It matches, can you see it? If you were looking, yes. But I'd much rather have it secure. Just make sure you use stitching thread that matches. I'm okay with that. I don't know that anybody would balk at that if they knew that it's keeping that pocket very secure in there. I love it. And I put my logo there. It is so pretty. I'll go see if my husband will take a picture, a little short video with me wearing it. All right? Hi, this is Barbie, and I finished the Zsa Zsa clutch wallet. It is, outside is all cork. The inside is all cotton. There are 7 slip pockets, 12 card slots, 2 zipper pockets. I mean, you can just really load this up. It is so adorable. Look at that. Crossbody, adjustable strap, so there's plenty of extra room. There you go. Thanks for watching. Be sure to click like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks.